Good morning. Welcome to this congregation. We are the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lower Bucks, and we welcome you. My name is Gil, and I have the honor and the privilege of being your lay leader this morning. Thank you so much for choosing to worship with us. Our UU community is built on love, connection, and acceptance for all who enter this sacred space. We hope that today's message will help you on your personal and spiritual journey. We invite you to relax and enjoy this time together. Our monthly theme for the month of October is hospitality. Our UUA covenant states that hospitality emerged as an ancient obligation grounded in reciprocity. I'll say that again. An ancient obligation grounded in reciprocity. Maybe I can't say it again. It is an act of love that cannot exist in hate's shadow. Hospitality's ability to overcome barriers by welcoming the stranger elicits a willingness to support the common good. For today's speaker, we welcome back Robin Reichert, who is a wonderful author, storyteller, speaker, artist, and mystic. Her sermon title today is An Expanded View of Hospitality, Cultivating Warmth and Welcome for All. Through the magic of storytelling, Robin offers simple yet unconventional ways to be the peace you wish to see. Inspired by the wisdom of the great Sufi Master, Hafiz, Robin demonstrates how we all hold the seeds of love mischief within us, so we may emit an aura of hospitality wherever we go. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our musician extraordinaire, Mr. Avi Wisnia, with our hymn this morning.
Thank you, Gil. Let us welcome each other in with hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We'll sing it a few times through, and feel free to join in whenever you see fit. And if you're really feeling up to the challenge, you could sing it in a round and feel free to start just a little bit later than everybody else. But that's only if you're up at expert level. You could join the rest of us at beginner level. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever
Thank you, Avi. I would like to invite Mike Marcus up to light the chalice while I read our opening words. These are by the Reverend Bob Moorhead. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. And now it is my pleasure to welcome up Robin Reichert with the message for all ages.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you, Avi, for the joyful come, come, whoever you are. It warmed up my vocal cords. I do see a couple of children. Do they normally come forward or? Okay. We're all children at this time. I want to bring you an introduction to a very special friend of mine who I only know through Facebook, but I can truly say that I just am in love with this person and his mom. His name is Charlie. This is one picture of Charlie. I don't know if you can see it where you are, but I have a slightly bigger, well, it's not very much bigger. That's another picture of Charlie. Hopefully you have your glasses on. But his mom helped him write this book, and she wrote this book about him. And I just want to share a little bit about who Charlie is, and then I'll read you a couple of quotes from his book. His mom's name is Jannie Rose, and it's a beautiful name that really suits her. When Charlie was 8, we made a series of appointments for him at a busy clinic in a neighboring city. No matter what time we arrived on any given day, the waiting room was always crowded. But despite the large number of patients, there was never much interaction between them as they waited to see the doctor. During one of our visits, I noticed Charlie studying the scene with intense focus, gathering information through his finely tuned heart. And Charlie has a really big heart, let me tell you. Assessing the situation, he wastes no time getting to work. I observe from my chair as he approaches a large woman with a sad expression. As he innocently gazes at her, she lifts her head, meets his expectant eyes, and slowly begins to smile. Satisfied by the woman's reaction, Charlie moves with purpose from one person to the next and works his magic. Through his gentle touch, he delivers a welcome reminder that we're never alone in this big wide world, and that love is in constant supply when we're open to receive it. As Charlie moves through the crowd, there's a palpable change in the group's energy. People are talking now and laughing together, marveling at this little angel who's so intent on spreading joy. Watching him interact with these complete strangers, I'm given a real-time lesson in loving without limits. Once he connects with almost everyone in the room, his last stop is an elderly gentleman who seems somewhere far away. Standing back, Charlie takes stock of the man and slowly leans closer to meet his tired gaze. Still, the gentleman does not respond. Patiently, my small son waits. Finally, Charlie reaches out and ever so gently touches his knee. In that moment, something breaks free inside the old man's heart. With arms outstretched and a joyous grin, Charlie grasps the large, shaking hands and pauses with reverence as a single tear rolls down the tired, wrinkled face. Satisfied, my son looks at me as if to say, "See, Mom, This is how it's done. That's really Charlie in a nutshell, and his mom has been posting videos of his brilliant wisdom for years, and that's how I fell in love with him. So she helped him write this book, and I was so grateful to receive it in the mail. And when asked why he was writing this book, one of his answers was to bring hope for them in their hearts. Joyful and grateful are healing at home in the brightful glory. Open our hearts with loving joyness and fill our days with gladness. And these are real quotes from this gentleman. Healness is to be holy and helpful with heartness. We must make a change to our souls and love people with kind relationships. And last but not least, our spiritness of graceful loving will help the world live. I hope you have enjoyed Charlie. The reason I wanted to bring him here today is because his mom says he's kind of gone off into his own world and he doesn't speak his beautiful words anymore. So I wanted to bring them to you for him. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Robin. That was really beautiful. I think we tend to forget that even people in tiny little bodies are old souls. And please join me in singing one verse of Go Now in Peace. Now we welcome Robin back with the reading that she has picked out for us this morning.
If God invited you to a party and said, "Everyone in the ballroom tonight will be my special guest," how would you then treat them when you arrived? Indeed, indeed. And I know there is no one in this world who is not upon his jeweled dance floor. It used to be that when I would wake in the morning, I could with confidence say, "What am I going to do?" That was before the seed cracked open. Now Hafiz is certain. There are two of us housed in this body, doing the shopping together in the market and tickling each other while fixing the evening's food. Now when I awake, all the internal instruments play the same music. God, what love mischief can we do for the world today?
Thank you, Robin. Our offertory for the month of October, the split plate recipient is Welcoming the Stranger. This nonprofit offers free classes in English as a second language, computer skills, and United States citizenship exam preparation. and this is for adult immigrants and refugees in the greater Philadelphia area. What could be more hospitable than to give immigrants an opportunity to be a part of the American experience and help them along the way? Please donate what you feel comfortable giving to this worthwhile group.
Traveling through this world below, there is no sickness, toil, nor danger in that bright land to where I go. I'm going there to see my brother. My loved ones who've gone
Thank you, Avi. That was really beautiful. Now let us welcome back Robin Reichert with her sermon, An Expanded View of Hospitality, Cultivating Warmth and Welcome for All.
What is she up to? I have to say, seeing that the Wayfaring Stranger that Avi just sang was from Johnny Cash, I remember coming out of Cats in New York City, and I turned around at the curb to look for the rest of my party, and I felt this presence right here, and I looked up because he was way up there. And it was Johnny Cash. And I looked around him, and it was June Carter Cash. And while I was looking up, he looked down at me like, please don't draw any attention to this. And I'll never forget it. I'm so grateful to be invited to fill in today. I always enjoy seeing your faces. I saw Mark Bernstein's sermon last week, reflected similar thoughts to my own about what to bring to you. The idea of welcoming people, not only into our homes, but especially into our hearts. That felt right to begin the month. But I thought, maybe I should do something just a little different. Scott and I always feel so welcome here, and I know that that's the chemistry of all of you working together. You're doing a great job and from where I stand. As a world society, we have traditional ways of welcoming that resonate throughout many cultures. We share meals, extend loving gestures to friends and family and newcomers. We give people our attention, our generosity, our authentic care, our patience, understanding, and compassion, all ingredients for creating a more peaceful world. Hospitality is an important aspect during certain Pueblo dances. I wanted to take a moment to remember Indigenous Peoples' Day. At the Pueblo dances, people gather for a sense of renewal and finding new or renewed life. Humor is used in some dances as a way of celebrating, exploring, and bringing light and understanding to the paradoxical and perplexing aspects of life. Humor acts as a healing balm in our ever-changing, challenging world. When I saw the words selling onions, I knew there was some fabulous story to go along with it, and I hope somebody will fill me in at the coffee hour. But I went in my own direction. Those words sparked an idea to share some stories of my own that relate to the theme of hospitality in ways you may not have thought of. I decided to go with a touch of humor a la the Reichert family. Love mischief. What unconventional methods helped people feel welcome in our lives, in our home, and in our hearts? Being a master of hospitality was an essential element of my dad's work as a minister. He visited the sick, comforted the poor and grieving, counseled those in need of compassion, and lent his ear to anyone who needed their voice to be heard. He staged many creative methods for bringing people together in community. Native American talking stick circles, and that was in the Methodist Church. I was really proud that he did that. Annual picnics, hunt breakfasts, the holiday giving trees, and the ever-popular potluck dinner. As his daughter, I observed him reaching out a helping hand or telling a silly joke to those he knew well or those he had just met. One Halloween, my father showed more creativity than I ever could have imagined. It was late and the swarms of trick-or-treaters had dwindled. Just as Dad was about to settle down in front of the TV, "Trick or treat!" Oh, my dad panicked. "I forgot to turn off the porch light. What am I going to do? We ran out of apples." I heard him in the kitchen as he dashed off, and he was opening and closing, slamming doors in the pantry, scurrying around, and I was like, what are we going to give these kids? My dad opened the door. He came to the door holding the treats that he found. "Aren't you kids kind of old to be out this late?" And they said, "Trick or treat!" And Dad reached out with his hands very carefully cupped and dropped his hands down into the bags of these children. Older, that they, maybe 7th or 8th grade. I was horrified when he later told me that the only thing he could find to give were 2 onions. I was terrified to go to school the next day, thinking they're all going to know that my father gives onions for trick or treat. But it never happened, thank goodness. Nobody found out somehow. I don't recommend this as the best way to bring people into your heart, but I did learn that if you have very little, you can always give something. A cup of tea, a listening ear, a ride to the store, a smile. My mother was my father's equal when it came to showing love and opening hearts with hospitality. Mom demonstrated many of the same qualities as Dad. In the early 90s, Mom was entertaining 2 friends at a restaurant who had never met each other. They were discussing the environment of college campuses since friend number 1 mentioned having a daughter about to enter college. Friend number 2 suddenly veered off course with racist commentary. This was my brother's mother-in-law, and Mom had never heard her speak in this manner. Silent tension rose, as you could imagine, between my mom and friend number 1, who had an adopted daughter with dark skin. As an expert in diplomacy, Mom finessed the conversation by asking friend number 1 if she had a photo of the girl. When the in-law saw the photo, her prejudice commentary stopped. We never knew if this stopped all her racist words and thoughts, but our in-law never spoke that way in our presence again. I learned that grace goes a long way toward creating a peaceful world. When Mom's inner mischief maker came forth, shenanigans often ensued, producing a very effective result of drawing people further into her warm-hearted hospitality. When I was 9, my dad drove me to pick up a friend so we could attend the first Beatles movie the next day. We walked through the front door of our house, friend in tow, and were greeted by a tall person with hair combed down over her eyes, playing air guitar and gyrating wildly as she sang, "She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah." My friend took a step back from the crazed woman before her and stood frozen until Mom flipped up her hair and said, "It's only me." The girl rushed into her arms, and the four of us laughed over lunch, recalling Mom's crazy antics. To this day, that friend remembers my mom and her welcoming ways fondly. People don't have to come to you to feel waves of playful heart welcome. Many years after the Beatles incident, I lived with my mother in an upstairs apartment. The landlady was Mom's friend, whose 28-year-old son's disposition had frozen into a mass of gruff criticism and rude rebuttal. Mom decided the young man needed a dose of her monkey business. So, on Halloween night, she donned one of those silly nose glasses with the big eyebrows and teeth and a mustache. You know, it only, goes part way, but well disguised. She put on clown clothes stuffed with pillows in the front and the back. She was a sight to behold, with striped socks, slippers, and her hair tucked under a ski cap. I wouldn't have known she was my mother. She tiptoed down the back steps and made her way to the downstairs front porch. I followed, but stood out of sight, and until, as she hoped, the landlady's son answered the door when she said, "Trick or treat." Well, he met my mother with a very sour, "Aren't you kind of old to be doing this? Why don't you get a job and get your own candy?" "Trick or treat. Halloween is for kids," he growled. Mom couldn't help but laugh, and I scampered up the porch steps as she tore off her mask. He stood there in shock for a few seconds, and then he called, "Mom, come look at this, it's Dorothy." That was the first time either of us had ever seen the young man smile. And he actually laughed a little bit. From that day forward, his spirit seemed lighter and his gruffness softened whenever my mother appeared. Wherever he is, I imagine he's never forgotten the day a certain Halloween clown delivered conviviality to his doorstep. So you'll not be surprised to learn that not so long ago, I spent a week at Patch Adams' Gesundheit Institute to sharpen my love mischief. Through clowning, music, and humor. As Patch says, play with each other every time you're together. When I got home, I immediately went to the thrift store to stock up on clownware. My first hospitality visit as a clown was at the grocery store, where I received all manner of smiles and giggles and puzzled looks. At my final destination, my friends perked up and laughed at my brightly patterned clothing and red foam nose. Compliments of Mr. Adams. During our first masked meeting at my home, in the early days of COVID, I already knew a warm embrace would be taboo for a friend who visited my home. I had to think of something else. In the quirky style of my parents, when she arrived, I held out 2 3-foot-long styrofoam pool noodles with garden gloves pulled down over the ends of each, and I reached out when she arrived and hugged her in the best way I could figure to do. Seeing the facial expressions of those who receive this brand of hospitality is worth more than all the money in the world. On the receiving end, of hospitality. The stories are too numerous to share details. So here's some bullet points. My neighbor and I share a common love of birds. And when, I found out she liked bird nests and spent eggs. If you find cracked eggs, she just likes the color of them, I guess, and it reminds her of the birds. And I have a collection of feathers. And she was the one that started it. She started leaving feathers for me in my mailbox. And I knew right away who it was from. She was relatively new in the neighborhood, and nobody had ever done that before. So I started, if I found a nest or an egg, I would leave it by her back door. And that continued for several years. We've kind of fallen out of it again with the COVID thing, but I know if I find something again, I'll want to leave it for her. I lost about 60 trees. I don't know if I ever talked about this during the 2012 hurricane. And a Latter-day Saint friend who happened to be in my storytelling guild rounded up 15 church members who cleared the 10 worst tree falls in my yard over the course of a couple of days and saved me thousands of dollars. Some took wood for their stoves and left me with wood for my stove. And every time I think of it, I feel so warm and welcomed into their lives. A good friend and I, the same one that I gave that long-armed hug to, before our world changed so drastically, we ventured into the world of free hugs. It was the first time for both of us, one Thanksgiving Eve at Union Square in New York. And it changed our lives. It was the most magical thing to watch people first going by and wondering, what are we doing? They asked, is there a cost? And why are you doing this? And there was suspicion and fright and all kinds of things. And this was before COVID. But seeing the ice melt and the people warm up was just the best. And we walked away, we floated away from that experience. And I was so sure I was going to make a career of free hugs. A permanent free hug sign. Normally you hold up a cardboard and you put magic marker, but I made a permanent one. And I did take it to Philadelphia one time. If you haven't had the experience, I highly recommend it. If you're going to get a virus, I'd rather get it that way than from a cold shopping cart. When I got home, here's another bullet point. When I got home after being away for my mom's funeral, a neighbor had supplied us with fresh groceries for breakfast and lunch and a homemade casserole. These are the things that you remember when people give you this kind of hospitality. The business owner where I worked and one of my clients saw my enthusiasm for the possibility of joining a 4-year training in body-centered psychotherapy. They said I was like a kid at Christmas. After I'd explored all funding options and came up short, between the two of them, they paid for my entire first year's tuition, and it was no small change. These are more than simple acts of kindness and generosity. These gestures say, you matter. I'm glad you're here. I'm happy for this opportunity to serve you. Whether it be a function of conventional hospitality, or the love mischief, as suggested by Hafiz. The creativity of the human heart for making others feel valued and welcome is boundless and can be addictive. The positive, lasting effects are immeasurable. In my life, there are so many more people than I have mentioned who summon me into the open door of their hearts. And I imagine you have stories to tell as well. I hope to hear some of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, for those wonderful stories. Now is the time in our service when we recognize and lift up one another in love. Please come forward to this microphone right here to share your joy or your sorrow, and let us listen with open hearts and open minds. We have a volunteer.
I'm Rich Kelly, husband of Jenny Kelly. I just want to come up and say to you people here that it was an extremely warm thing I felt last Sunday afternoon when going into the funeral service for a dear friend and family member, Rabbi Eric Wisnia, who many of you know. I go in there, and the first thing I see on my left are 2 rows of like over a dozen people from this congregation to just be a part of that. And I just want to thank you. You'll probably hear the same story later on. Am I right?
Thank you, Robin. Your sermon reminds me of our next door neighbor, Jean, who's 89, and her son lives with her and takes care of her now. But when we take the time to go visit her, which is not often enough, she is so thankful that we have come to see her that she cries every single time. And we need to do that very soon. But you forget, you know, the impact you have on people in the smallest ways. Thank you for reminding me.
Hi, I just wanted to welcome Avi back into the Fringe. We love you. We were there for you last week, but we were there for ourselves too because we love your dad, we loved your grandfather, we love you.
Hi, I'm Avi. Yeah, I lost my dad last week, and that is a great sorrow. It's really hard, and I'm grateful to all of you here for all the outpouring of support in person and online that tuned into the funeral, or the cards that were sent, and it all does mean a lot. No matter what you say or don't know what to say, the presence and the intention is always so important. And I know, like many of us, we have a lot of loss that we sit with constantly, and we feel it, whether it's fresh or it's very, very old in the past. And this week has been a week of great sorrow, and I appreciate being able to share it with you. I know that going forward, there's going to be a lot of sorrow in my family that we're going to share. But can't just articulate a sorrow, because that's not how I operate. And there was a joy that actually happened this morning because of all this. I'll say yesterday was my sister's birthday, and I know it's hard to celebrate a birthday when you lose someone like your dad very recently. And the two of us went out, and we were hanging out at the house, and we didn't really know what to do, but we had been talking about getting mani-pedis together for a while. First for my birthday, it just didn't happen, and so that seemed easy enough to do, like something we could just get out of the house and do. And we did, and we went, and I got a manicure, like my grandfather actually used to do. Just clear but shiny, and my cuticles look great. And then we got to the pedicure, and I was also going to get them just clear and shiny and buffed. And then my sister said, "You got to get a color." And I said, "Well, it's your birthday. I will let you choose the color, and I will get any color on my feet." And she said, "Well, Abba, our father, his favorite color was purple." And so she chose the shiniest, sparkliest purple, and she got it on her feet and on my feet. And that was our mani-pedi day yesterday. And this morning, when I woke up to take a shower to come here, I took off my socks, and I completely forgot. And when I took off my socks, there's this party on my feet of shiny, sparkly purple in honor of my dad. And it made me smile.
Thank you all for sharing. And then whether you came up and shared or not today, for your joys, we in this community join you in celebration. And for sorrows or concerns, may you feel our sympathy and our compassion. Please stand as you are able and join us in singing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing my heart all the streams of compassion. Eyes to see in the giving light, shape of justice. Spirit of life, come to me, come to
I'd like to read a prayer written by Laura Riordan Berardi, and it's titled, Find Love, Be Love. May we find love in this place. Hey, if you want to do that, that's great. Yes. All right, join me in reading this, please. May we find love in this place, love in our hearts, love for the broken down, love for the lonely, love for those yet to feel whole, love for those in between, love for those out of our reach. May we find love, add love, and be love in this world. Amen. Now our closing song.
In 1944, Woody Guthrie, inspired by his travels all around this country, wanted to pen a song about no matter what hardships you were going through, and he experienced a lot of people's hardships, hearing their stories about the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. But he wanted a song that bound everyone together with the spirit of unity. And in thinking about welcoming the stranger, of hospitality, that we can do what we do to make this land a land for everyone. This land is your land. Please join me in singing our closing song.
The words for extinguishing our chalice this morning are from the Reverend Krista Tavis. It's titled, The Work We Share. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be. Our service is concluded. I would really like to thank Rob and Reichert for an amazing job today. I'm going to take you up on that free hug. And for those of you on Zoom, you know who you are. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you can join us again next week. And for the rest of you, please join us in the cafeteria for coffee and conversation. Go now in peace. Amen and blessed be. Go Eagles.